Cheers, guys. Epix911, welcome to the Elitist Geek. In this video, I want to go through my handheld collection. Now, before I start, a disclaimer. As you guys know, if you follow my videos, I'm going through a basement renovation. My really old handhelds, and I classify old handhelds as period from 80s, the original Game Boy, the Nomad, forget TurboGrafx version off the top of my head, Game Gear, up through to Game Boy Advance. I own all those handhelds, but I have them in a box somewhere. And it's not that it's not clearly labeled, it's just freaking buried in my garage at the moment. I wanted to get a video out. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to split it in two, and I'm just going to say this is a video of handhelds later than 2004. So basically 2004 to present that I own. And then I'll do a follow-up video at some point where we go retro, and I'm going to show you guys some really awesome old school handhelds, because I kid you not, a couple, and let's just talk about Nomad, all right? Nomad was basically, for all intents and purposes, a Sega Genesis in a handheld. Battery hog, no doubt, but the fact that you could actually play your Genesis games on it was just amazing, because you're talking, 16 color handheld with basically an 8 megahertz processor compared to like a Motorola, compared to what Nintendo was doing at the time. And the TurboGrafx, same thing. I have and always will maintain the TurboGrafx or PC Engine, for those of you across the pond. Hue card format was so far ahead of its time. I mean, you think about it. Those games were essentially credit card sized, albeit thicker, but that was almost unheard of in the 80s. I mean, you got to think at that time, CDs had just been starting to kind of get introduced. People were still using Sony Walkmans. And all of a sudden, TurboGrafx / PC Engine comes out with games that are basically card-sized, when Super Nintendo games were still huge. I mean, don't forget, at that point in time, they were basically as big as a Nintendo DS, right? So, promise you guys, there'll be a cool retro video. I'm going to go over, show you guys the screen, do some battery tests just to blow minds, because when I say battery hogs, that doesn't even do the term justice. These things were battery pigs. Absolutely. All right, with that said, let's check out 2004 to the present. So, the first one that we have is the silver clamshell Nintendo DS. And I've got no problem showing the back because it's pretty worn out. And do we have a game in there? No. Now, what separated this console from the DS consoles to come, namely the DS Lite and my 3DS XL, which I'll also show you guys, was that you were still able to play Game Boy Advance games on this. And honestly, that's a feature that I want more of, and we've kind of gone away with that. Or early adopters, I guess, got it, and then later guys got shafted, whether it's PS3 or whatever. But that was the beauty of this original DS, was the fact that you could play your Game Boy Advance games. So you basically doubled the size of your library instantly. Screen size, super small. I've never liked the screen size of Nintendo handhelds, whether it's Game Boy, DS, it doesn't matter. And now with the XL models, which we'll get into, for me, that deficiency has been addressed. But this is the mighty silver clamshell. That's the one that started it for the Nintendo DS. And take a look at that. Yeah, still perfectly fine after all this time. Feels good in the hand, but a little too small on the screen size. Then, in 2006, we have the PlayStation Portable, with, open it here, and of course now it doesn't pop open. The clamshell little PlayStation format discs, which I will admit I have never ever used, because all my games are and we're going to show you pirated. Yes, doesn't mean I don't own the games. I just used the hack, which at the time I had the original PlayStation Portable, which later was one that was able to be hacked. And at that time, this model, which is the 2000, my personal favorite model, was not yet hacked. But of course, with the PlayStation leak, with the Sony keys being leaked, even this one became hackable. But what's really cool about this, and I'm going to show you guys, is I have in here an adapter. So it's a Sony Pro Duo adapter. And I'm just got to remember where the hell the disc is. There it is. And I'm just going to show you guys. So what I have is I've got the Pro Duo Sony format card adapter for micro SDHC. And what I actually have in here is a 32 gig micro SDHC card, which holds about 32 games. 30 to 32 games in here. So we'll quickly go through those. And no, again, I don't condone piracy, but I don't and never have claimed to be a saint. I prefer to buy my games absolutely now that I am with some means. But in the past, on my Commodore 64, I've never been shy about that. I have literally shoeboxes filled with pirated games. PlayStation Portable, yes, I've got some on here too. Just going to go into the game memory stick. There we go. Just take a second to load. And you can see the games I've got on there. I'll just scroll through. So those are basically all RPGs and strategy RPGs. Okay, I guess there was Grand Theft Auto, Legacy of Kain, Tactics Ogre, Resistance. So you get the drift. Lots of games on there. Joan of Arc, Disgaea, another Disgaea, Castlevania, Symphony of the Night, the best Castlevania of all time. And Xenogears, a fantastic PlayStation 1 RPG. So there you have it. So this was the PlayStation Portable. And again, that was 2006. Just turning the power off. Then what I got was a Nintendo DS XL. And that's this baby here, which I have in a protective case. All right. This one, even though you guys know I own my games, I've shown my Nintendo DS collection. I've got the SD card in here, and I have... Well, actually, I have a legit game in here, but I do have a pirate cart for this. I only use it when I go on vacation, so I don't have to carry all my cartridges around because in the past I've lost them. So you can see, I mean, it's a legit game in here, right? That is my 3DS XL. The first Nintendo handheld screen size that I got behind. Yes, it's a little pixelated, but I don't care. The extra real estate that the XL gave you over this, I mean, you got to see these side by side, right? Like, it's night and day. It's a little hard to see on here, but oh, there you go. I mean, it's night and day. It's like 1.5 times the size, right? So that was an awesome step in the right direction from Nintendo. Then we come around to, and I do have my PlayStation in here. Oh yeah, it's down in here. But this is the Vita. So it's a white Vita. If I take off the case, you can see it's the white one. My favorite version of the PlayStation Vita, and the reason is that screen, baby, right there, OLED, for games like this, Uncharted, and this, Persona 4. It's breathtaking, and it blows the living snot out of the non-OLED version, the one that comes currently with just an LCD screen. honestly, guys, no comparison. If you can get your hands on the OLED screen, hands down the winner. Super colorful, super awesome. That's the PlayStation Vita. Then, just to break up the monotony, I've got this handheld, which is circa 2014. And that is a JXD 7800, which is an Android device, which is hacked and has in it a, I believe, 32 gig micro SDHC. And what I use this for mostly, I'll show you guys, is emulators. So you can see here, I've got some emulators. I've got Saturn, Sega Genesis, Amiga, NES, you name it, it's on here. It is a fantastic machine for the price. Like, for just a little over $100, you get a gorgeous 7-inch screen. It's from China, and it's not the greatest quality. Let's just say that up front. In fact, my charging cable, which is less than a year old, about a year old now, failed. And I currently have no way to charge this right now. And we're almost out of juice again. But for what it does well. And I believe it's just over a gigahertz processor. So I'm just going to power this off. But fantastic little device. And it was my favorite Android device until I got this baby. Which is, and look at that. We've got the funny nerd, Leo, showing up on my YouTube feed. And Leo, you asked why I sometimes unsubscribe from you. That's why. It brings you to the top. So I do that with all my gaming channels so that they kind of stay to the top on things like RSS feeds and other types of things. So this is the NVIDIA Shield tablet, which is fantastic. I use this with a micro OSD cable, I believe it's called. And that allows me to connect things like Xbox 360 controllers, which are awesome. And do emulation on this, which is a lot faster than the other tablet, the JXD. So that's the NVIDIA Shield. And then, of course, second to last but not least, you guys have all seen this. This is my 3DS XL, the newer one, with the Mugen extended battery, which gives it about 15 hours of battery life. I think I've got an 8 gig SD card in there. And last but not least, my iPad, which is a 3rd generation iPad, but I use this for ebook reading and gaming. There are still some decent iOS games. So there you have it. Oh, and of course, super last, iPhone 6 Plus, which, yes, does get used for gaming as well. So there are decent games on here. Notice the screen looks kind of grody. We'll get rid of that. There you have it. Those are all my handhelds from 2004 to the present. Again, I'll show you guys the older retro stuff, which I think is really cool, in a future video. Let me know in the comments below, guys, anything I'm missing that I should have. I think I got the gamut covered pretty well. If not, let me know. And as always, cheers, guys.